Hi everyone, welcome back to True Crime and Wine. I'm not really feeling. Anyways, welcome back to True Crime and Wine. Did you miss me? Everyone's like, Danny, are you posting a video this week of True Crime and Wine? Of course I am, darling. I just never know what fucking day I'm posting, okay? But we're back and we're better than ever. And this week is an interesting one because it's the first time I read into a case where I'm like, ooh, this might have not been a serial killer. He was definitely a criminal, but I don't know if he was responsible for the crimes he confessed to, got charged with, and, you know, lived out his life in jail to the very, very day he died for things I'm not quite sure he 110% did, if I'm gonna be honest with you. So that makes this week a little exciting, doesn't it? We like to switch it up. This is probably gonna be a long one, which is crazy because I was just so cold downstairs, but all these lights in here are making me so hot, and I'm just thinking, oh, I'm gonna be so hot for the next like hour while I break down this fucking true crime case. But it's okay, I'll be hot for y'all, literally and figuratively. Okay, so this week we are talking about the lipstick killer, William Heirens. I bet you're wondering why he has the nickname Lipstick Killer, and I'll tell you why before I even tell you what happened. He has that nickname because in one of his crime scenes of the brutal murders he confessed to committing, there was a note scribbled on the wall in lipstick of the woman that he killed, hence gaining the nickname the Lipstick Killer. So let's start from the very beginning. And when I say very beginning, I mean this shit happened in 1942. Literally over 50 years ago. This is no, like there's barely any pictures, there's barely any footage or videos to add into this motherfucker because it happened so goddamn long ago. But that's why you gotta be a great storyteller, to tell stories where there's barely any shit to go with it. William Heirens was born in Evanston, Illinois on November 15th, 1928. 28, y'all! He was born in 1928. He was a motherfucking Scorpio. I only had sex with one Scorpio once. His birthday is actually November 14th. I wonder if he's a serial killer. I don't think he is, but you just never know. I had sex with him once and then that was it, so. Thanks, Scorpio, for letting me loose before you decided to kill me. Since a lot of Scorpios are serial killers. Call me. I miss you. I miss your dick. Your dick can commit serial crimes on my vagina. Oh man. His parents were George and Margaret Heirens. They had a very toxic relationship. Like most serial killers, it seems like they come from really fucked up, broken homes. They weren't rich, but they lived in the suburbs of Lincolnwood, Illinois. His mother discouraged any show of emotion. She was a fucking robot, needless to say, which is really unfortunate because I feel like if people don't come from loving homes, they really do become fucked up. From what I'm reading and learning every single week from these true crimes, it really always seems to be the mother's fault. Like, do you notice that? It always goes back to the mom, but what about the dad? Ed Kemper. Dad just said, fucking bye, dude. And he had to go live with his mom, and then his mom got murdered. Why'd you hate your mom and not your dad? Why didn't you kill your dad? You know what I'm saying? Again, everything I read about William's mother is that she was very emotionless, very not loving, at least not to William. At the age of 11, William witnessed a couple having sex. He ran home to mommy, told mommy what happened, and mommy told him that touching people was disgusting. If you touch anyone, you will get a disease. You will get sick. Sex is dirty, William. Don't touch anyone. And that lesson that William's mother taught him at the age of 11 really stuck with him because in the future, when he started to have romantic relationships with schoolgirls and or adult females that he was dating or trying to be romantic with, he would get physically ill by kissing them or touching them. Now, I'm only bringing that up because it's very important that you keep that in your mind. It's an important fact about why I think he might not be the serial killer that committed these crimes, okay? His mother taught him that touching anyone would bring on diseases. Therefore, when he would touch women, he would get sick. He would get violently ill. William became a criminal at a very early age. He got excitement from starting fires, and he also used to break into neighbors' homes to steal females' underwear. F***ing creep. In 1942, at the age of 13, William was found with a pistol on him. When cops went to his family home, they found a rifle and 3 other pistols hidden behind the refrigerator and 4 other weapons on the roof. Now, all these weapons were stolen from homes that he was robbing. So at 13 years old, he was already stealing rifles and from other people's homes. At the age of 13, I barely just got my period. I didn't know a thing about weapons, and I damn sure didn't know anything about burglarizing. Robbery. I think I'm gonna stick with robbery because I feel like I'm gonna have trouble saying burglary, burglarizing, burglar. But I didn't know about at 13, especially how to rob pistols and rifles from neighbors' homes. That's crazy. And how does a 13-year-old break into a home and then just skip down the street with the rifle? All the way back to his family's house to hide it behind the refrigerator on the roof. I'm sorry, mom should have better instincts. If my kid is out there at 13 years old stealing, hiding it behind the fridge, guess who's gonna find it? That's right, your mama, because I'm smarter than you. Found your shit, now you're grounded. Probably gonna send your ass to jail because I already know I'm raising a future serial killer. But William's mom had no emotion, probably didn't give a shit about William, didn't pay attention to what he was doing, and therefore he got away with committing crazy criminal acts at the age of 13. So after he got caught with this pistol, and then after they searched his home and found all these weapons, he got taken into custody where he confessed to 6 counts of arson and 11 counts of burglary. Now at this point in time, he was only 13 years old, which is really, really young, so he did not get locked up, but he did get sent to a correctional school in Terre Haute, Indiana. After 11 months, when William turned 14 years old, he returned home from the correctional school. Didn't take long, didn't take much. William jumped right back into his old habits and started stealing from people again. He was in the corridor of a hotel when he got stopped, and he emptied his pockets, and he had a bunch of keys from apartments from a building that just recently got robbed, burglarized. He was taken into custody again. Keep in mind that during all this time, he had to see psychiatrists. So psychiatrists discovered in their meetings with William that he would oftentimes steal female underwear from other people's homes, and he would also wear the female underwear. Now, mommy said sex was dirty, but I guess mommy didn't say that wearing female underwear that didn't belong to you was also dirty. Kid's already f***ed up. He's 14 years old. So he goes to court. His mom is pleading for him not to go to jail, which is crazy because it seems that she has no love for him, is not affectionate with him. But there she is in court pleading for him to not go to jail. So again, he does not go to jail. He just gets probation, and he's sent to a boarding school called St. Bede's. It was a Catholic boarding school. William was very, 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 very smart. A lot of serial killers have that trait. A lot of serial killers are very smart, have high IQs. For instance, Ed Kemper. William was no different. He excelled in academics at his boarding school. In mathematics, biological science, you name it, William was doing good in that class. Because of his good academics and being a good student, William actually got released from St. Bede at 16 years old. And because of his high test scores, he got enrolled at the University of Chicago. He moved into the dorm rooms at the University of Chicago, and it didn't take long before he was robbing homes that were close to the university. He just couldn't help himself. On June 5th, 1945 is when detectives believe William graduated from robbery and burglary to murder. 43-year-old Josephine Ross was in her home by herself. She lived at home with her 2 daughters. She was a widow. Her daughters happened to not be home. Detectives said that she woke up, found William in the act of robbing her house. He panicked. He slit her throat, stabbed her 4 times in the neck. After he stabbed her in the neck 4 times and slit her throat, he tried to glue or close her neck with adhesive tape. When that didn't work, he wrapped her head in one of her skirts. It's like literally a terrible death and murder, and I can't imagine how her daughters even moved on in their life knowing that that's how their mother was taken from this earth. It's fucked up. So fucked up. When the police arrived on the scene, there was blood splattered everywhere, but there was no fingerprints and there was no motive. 4 months later, on October 5th, William again panicked when he went into the apartment of 27-year-old Army nurse and Lieutenant Evelyn Peterson. In his panic, instead of killing her, he punched her in the face and knocked her out and then fled her apartment. When police arrived, they found fingerprints in her apartment, but somehow, some way, those fingerprints in her apartment did not match William's fingerprints and his records, which doesn't make any sense because he's been a criminal since he was 13 years old, so his fingerprints are in the system. Mind you, this is later on when William actually gets arrested and confesses to all these crimes. When they take fingerprints from this crime scene and compare it to William's records, it is not a match. Doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you? On December 10th, that's my dad's birthday, by the way, 1945, Frances Brown, who was 33 years old, walked out of her bathroom in her apartment to find William there. He shot her twice, once in the head. He then stabbed her in the neck. He then stabbed her in the neck with a bread knife. He stabbed her with such force that the other side of the knife emerged on the other side of her neck. He dragged her body to the bathroom. He tried to rinse the blood off her body. There was just too much blood for him to get all of it. He left half her body in the tub, half of her body out of the tub, and then draped her own bathrobe over her body. With Frances's own lipstick, he wrote a message on her apartment wall and said, "For heaven's sake, catch me. Before I kill more, I cannot control myself." Can you imagine? I can't even imagine being a detective on crime scenes like this. I as a human being would not be able to function. I can barely function after I film these true crimes because I'm just like, what in the actual... Some dude rolls up to a random woman's apartment, kills her in the most brutal way. She has no idea it's coming, has no idea who he is, she doesn't deserve it, and then takes her own lipstick to write a message on the wall. Please catch me. The audacity of this mother. Again, police come to a dead end because in Frances's apartment, fingerprints had been wiped clean. They had nothing. The third and last murder happened on January 7th, 1946. James Degnan walked into his daughter's bedroom to discover that she was missing. Susan Degnan was 6 years old. Her father did what any father would do and immediately called the police. By 10 a.m. that morning, police, patrolmen, detectives, reporters, patrolmen, all were on the scene. In Suzanne's bedroom, they found a crumpled up ransom note that demanded that the family prepare $20,000 and to not call police. The ransom note also told them to wait for further instructions. A unanimous call was made to police saying to check nearby sewers for Suzanne. At 7 p.m. that same evening, detectives found Suzanne's severed head floating in a nearby sewer, which was just a couple blocks away from the family home. A few hours later, after finding Suzanne's severed head, they found her severed torso and her severed body parts, both in different locations in different sewers. Sick. I can't imagine what that poor 6-year-old baby went through. I can't imagine. Now I'm just gonna read this to you because I don't have it memorized. I will add the screenshot in the video. But the time of death was between 12:30 and 1 a.m. The person that killed her used a very sharp knife, had been used to expertly dismember the body. The site was later found to be in the basement laundry room at 509 Winthrop Avenue near the Degnans' home. However, it was determined that Suzanne was already dead when she was taken to the room. The coroner's expert stated that the killer was either a man who worked in a profession that required the study of anatomy or one with a background in dissection. Not even the average doctor could be as skillful. It had to be a meat cutter. It was a very clean job with absolutely no signs of hacking. I don't know about y'all, but William definitely was a criminal, but he was no motherfucking meat cutter, bro. He puked kissing a bitch. touching a female made him vomit. So what would get someone who gets literally physically ill by touching another human being the power to dissect them and dismember them and then toss them in the sewer? I mean, if I was a detective, I'd be like, this dude doesn't seem like the probable fit. Mind you, he's not even a suspect at this point. I'm just saying as I go along, William does not have the qualifications of a person who would know how to dissect a human body. Just doesn't seem like it. During this case, several people were arrested. There was lots of suspects, one including Hector Verbo. He was a janitor in the building where the body was found. The shape of the ransom note made detectives believe that whoever wrote it had dirty hands. They have the coroner saying that it had to be a medical professional or a butcher that killed Suzanne. They have a ransom note that looks like it got written by someone with dirty hands. I don't know about y'all, but someone who kills and murders people for a living probably doesn't have clean hands. But they said, f what the coroner said, let's go with the fact that the janitor is a f***ing janitor and he's got dirty ass hands. So that's good enough of a description for us to arrest this motherfucker. And he worked in the building where the murder room was. He was in and out of that laundry room where the body was found. He must have done it. So they arrest him. They held him for 48 hours, tortured him, and never once did he ever confessed to doing it. They eventually release him and he tells the whole world, including the press, how he was tortured into giving a confession he refused to give. He was later cleared and he was not the one that committed the murders. Hector ended up suing the police department for $15,000 but was actually awarded $20,000. $5,000 of that actually went to his wife because they tried to pressure her into flipping on her husband, into making false claims, false arrests, whatever. Today, I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it was 1940, and that's equivalent to $222,000 in today's money. Next up on the docket list was a war veteran, Sidney Sherman. Police found blonde hairs next to a handkerchief with the initials SS. Somehow they narrowed it down to it being this war veteran, Sidney Sherman. They went to his apartment was cleared out, he didn't show up to his job. They immediately said, that sounds like someone who's guilty. There was a nationwide manhunt for this man. They catch up to him. He said, oh, hold the fuck on, I was nowhere near there. I was getting eloped to my girlfriend. We are now married. I don't know whose handkerchief that is, but it's not mine. I had nothing to do with this. He took a polygraph test. He passed. He was not the killer. Eventually they find out that the handkerchief belonged to Airman Seymour Sherman, who was from New York City, and at the time of Suzanne's murder, he was out of the country. He has no idea how his handkerchief could have ended up at the scene of the crime, but cops ended up saying that it was just merely a coincidence. I'm sorry, if you're from New York City, how the fuck does your handkerchief end up in Chicago and you say, well, it's just a coincidence, I was out of the country? Excuse me? It don't make no sense. So who do you know in Chicago that would have ended up with one of your handkerchiefs? Again, he gets let go. The police have no leads, they don't know who to blame, they don't know who to look at, they're at a dead end and they're looking like they don't know how to do their job. During this investigation of Suzanne, 2 people made confessions, one being from a local teenager named Vincent Costello who confessed to committing the murders. Later, he recanted his confession and said that he only did it because he overheard policemen talking about it, so he knew specific details about what happened. But he had nothing to do with her death. Then, another confession from Richard Russell Thomas. He used to live in Chicago, and he did live in Chicago at the time of Suzanne's murder, but now he was in Arizona, in jail, awaiting trial for molesting his stepdaughter. Thomas was a nurse and would have precise precision on how to dissect certain things. He had the medical background to indeed be the one responsible for Suzanne's death. Handwriting experts and analysis alerted Chicago police the similarities between Richard's handwriting and the ransom note. Thomas even frequented a car yard that was directly across from where detectives found Suzanne's arms. He freely and without hesitation admitted to killing Suzanne. However, that same day, which was June 26, 1946, authorities got word that they were in Chicago and arrested the murderer of Suzanne, which happened to be William Heirens. On June 26, William woke up. He needed cash for a date he was going on, so he headed to the post office to cash $1,000 in savings bonds, which actually was money that he saved up and earned from robbing people's homes. The post office just happened to be closed that day. So William did what William does, and he decided, I'm gonna go rob some houses and get the cash that I need to take my girl out on a date. So he gets to an apartment building that he has robbed before and knows the lay of the land. He goes into an apartment, he gets spotted by someone, he panics, and he starts running. Someone called 911 to report that they were witnessing a break-in, so William ended up being cornered by 2 policemen. Williams argued up until the day he died that he did not shoot at any of the officers because the officers said that Williams originally shot his gun that he had. William did have a pistol on him. Shot his gun that he had, but it misfired. They started to wrestle and struggle with one another. An off-duty officer named Abner Cunningham was coming home from the beach. He was still in his swimming trunks when he was witnessing this altercation between policemen and William. There was a stack of 3 flower pots. Abner picked them up and smashed William over the head with all 3 flower pots, knocking him unconscious. He was taken to the hospital and the jail and was strapped to the bed. He was in and out of consciousness for days. He was not allowed to see his family, talk to his family, get a lawyer, nobody. But you know what police did? They hovered over his bed and questioned him while he was still in and out of consciousness. Police searched his parents' home and his dorm room, and although they found evidence that linked William to other burglaries, they did not find any evidence that linked him to any of the murders. Police interrogated William for 6 days straight. They didn't let him eat, they didn't let him drink, they would beat him, they would hit him over and over and over again, just like they did Hector, trying to get a confession. During these 6 days, he wasn't allowed legal counsel and he was not allowed to see or talk to his parents. Roy Grinker and Dr. Haynes, 2 psychiatrists, administered sodium pentothal to William, which is truth serum, without a warrant and without consent from his parents, because keep in mind, he is only 17 years old and not the legal age to make decisions for himself. Authorities said that under the drug, William confessed to his alter ego he named George Merman. He said that George committed the murders. Later, William will say that he does not remember a single moment of his interrogation under the truth serum, and the original transcripts were lost and never found, so there's no proof of what was actually asked and or said during William's interrogation. Sounds a bit sketchy to me, you guys. Very sketchy. During this time, Suzanne Degnan's murder was the biggest news to ever hit Chicago. The press were not helping, police were being pressured into finding the killer. They have this 17-year-old, good-looking chap who is now being blamed for everything. Eventually, William confessed to all 3 murders, and in August of 1946, William was charged with 3 counts of murder, 4 assaults, and 22 burglaries. On September 5th, which was the day of his sentencing, William tried and failed to kill himself in his jail cell. Soon after he confessed, was arrested, and sentenced, Williams recanted his confession. He admitted to the burglaries but said he was never violent. That the only reason he confessed was because police used torture tactics to get the confession out of him. He argued and argued and argued until the day he died that the confession was forced. If you really think about it, there was no solid evidence that linked him to the crime scene. Fingerprints didn't match at one of the crime scenes. There was no fingerprints on 2 of the crime scenes. His confession came after 6 days of no food, no water, and being beaten terribly. And here we have a man who's literally going to jail for molesting his stepdaughter, confessing to the brutal killing of Suzanne, and he's just never looked at again. They just focus all their energy and time on a 17-year-old kid who threw up at the sight of touching another human being. It's just, I don't know. Is it possible that William was a psychopath killer and did commit all these crimes? Yes. Is it also possible that he committed crimes but they weren't murder and he was falsely accused and falsely confessed to things that he never did? Yes. And now he's dead and we will never know. And police probably will just close this book because it happened so long ago, and who knows if anyone in relation to Suzanne or any of these victims is still alive. to care about really finding out who murdered them. And the killer got away with it if William didn't do it and is probably dead. William was one of the first people in jail to get his bachelor's degree. He had good behavior, he was smart, and he tried multiple times to be released on parole. In 1983, U.S. Magistrate Gerald Cohn, I don't know how to say his last name, C-O-H-N, how do you say that? Is it Con or Coin? I don't know. He ordered an early release for William because of his good behavior and for the fact that he believed William was rehabilitated. However, his decision was overturned and Williams remained in jail. The entire time Williams was in jail, he attempted parole 30 times, and 30 times he got denied. Another interesting fact is Suzanne's murder gets linked to the Black Dahlia murder. There's similarities. But in my mind, if Williams in fact killed Suzanne, there's no way that could work if who killed Suzanne is also the Black Dahlia, because that means whoever got away with it killed again. So I'd have to really dive deep into that conspiracy theory, but there was pretty much every article I read about William and Suzanne linked back to Black Dahlia, which doesn't make any sense because William was locked up at that time. In my personal opinion, I don't know how I feel after this. Could he possibly have been a serial killer? Yes. Am I 110% convinced that they got the right person? No. I think they were pressured. I feel like they had nobody, and the best person to get was William. Why? I don't know. Because he already had a record. Because they caught him in the act of doing another crime. Because they didn't just get a confession from somebody who's literally going to trial for molesting his stepdaughter. It's like, I don't know, this case is a bunch of question marks for me. I don't know how I feel. Please comment below how you feel, who you think did it. If even if you don't think Robert did it, I'm not fully convinced that William should have been in jail for his entire existence, for literally going to jail with no evidence. That would never happen in 2020. Never happened in 2020. On March 5th, 2012, William Heirens, at the age of 83, died in a jail hospital from complications of his diabetes. Never got parole, never got a second shot at life or a second trial or anything. He just spent his entire existence in a jail cell when he possibly didn't commit these heinous, terrible crimes. Just kind of fucked up. It's so fucked up. I don't know what to say, you guys. This is the first true crime where I'm like, I don't have a clue. I don't know. I'm not thoroughly convinced that this man is the one that did these crimes. It just doesn't add up to me that a man who literally was a virgin when he went to jail and would have probably stayed a virgin because he couldn't stand the thought of touching a woman or any other human being because his mom embedded that thought in his head, would have no problem stabbing a female or slitting her throat and then trying to bathe her in a bathtub with blood. If you can do all that, you can definitely have sex and you can definitely kiss someone. So it just doesn't add up for me. It doesn't fit the profile for me. And I think this man got labeled the lipstick killer and was labeled a serial killer when he probably wasn't. Comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts. This is this week's True Crime and Wine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but as I always say, if you're giving it a thumbs down, you probably shouldn't be on this channel. But if you are going to be here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, but also hit the bell, because if you don't hit the bell, you will not get notifications, and if you don't get notifications, what is the point? Follow me on my social media. All of them are in my description box, but most importantly, subscribe to me and Gabby's Wave channel. We have tons of new videos going out every week. Link is in the description box to subscribe. Thank you so much for your support. I love you guys to the moon and back. Be safe out there, and if you are a cop or a detective or anyone in law enforcement, I beg of you, please take your time, do your job correctly, and make sure that you put the right person behind bars. But it's because it's so fucked up if someone's being labeled a serial killer when they were just a serial robber and then spending their entire life in jail for murders they possibly couldn't commit. Now, if he did do them and he was a serial robber and a murderer, child killer, creep, then he got what he deserved. But I'm just not fully convinced that this man not only had the ability to chop, slice and dice females, but also kill children, and then the MOs don't match. Why would he kill 2 adults and then dismember a 6-year-old and asked for ransom. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's too different. Usually serial killers have the same motives. Jeffrey Dahmer, he liked to pick up hitchhikers and drug them and kill them. Ed Kemper, he liked to pick up female hitchhikers and dismember them. How does William Heirens not have a go-to routine? He just goes from a 43-year-old to a 33-year-old to a 17-year-old to a 6-year-old. Kills 2 of them brutally, punches 1 in the face, and then dismembers a 6-year-old. Doesn't add up, y'all. I don't even think all 4 of these are connected. I just don't. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what the cops are doing. I don't know if they felt pressure. I just don't know why they wouldn't go for a man who actually made a confession. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but what do I know? See you guys next week for True Crime and Wine. I love you to the moon and back. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a great night. Be safe. Please be safe. Okay, be safe.